Ladies and gentlemen, after this intriguing insight from the cyber commanders, we now turn to a glance at the future challenges of cybersecurity for infrastructures. And for the academic keynote speech, it's my pleasure to welcome Professor Alberto Sangiovanni Vincentelli, who is the Edgar L. and Harold H. Butner Chair of Electrical Engineering and Computer Sciences at the University of California, Berkeley. In 2001, Professor Sangiovanni Vincentelli received the Kaufman Award for his pioneering contributions to electronic design automation from the Electronic Design Automation Consortium. In 2011, he was awarded the IEEE/RSE Maxwell Medal for groundbreaking contributions that have had an exceptional impact on the development of electronics and electric engineering or related fields. He received an honorary doctorate from my home country, Alberto University in Denmark, and one from KTH in Sweden. Professor Sangiovanni Vincentelli has published more than 950 papers and 19 books. Finally, Professor Sangiovanni Vincentelli is not only a great academic, but also the co-founder of two companies in the electronic design automation space, both of them very successful, each with $1 billion revenue. So it's my great honor to give the floor to you, sir, and I'm sure that you'll give us a great academic keynote speech. Thanks, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. And my question about the relationship between military and civil, I had a reason, because I'm going to focus on the importance of infrastructure and how important it is to defend the infrastructure. So what I would like to talk about is, in fact, what kind of risk we are going to have at the infrastructural level, and what kind of challenges that we find to battle against all kinds of negative forces out there. Some of the important infrastructures are, of course, energy infrastructure, and which has been the subject of the most important attacks to civil infrastructure, and the transportation system, where we have not seen yet an attack, but I'm afraid we will see it very soon. The other infrastructure is kind of interesting, is health. Now, we are depending more and more often on cyber solutions to health problems, from devices that we carry in our own body. And my own university, we have developed a chip that can be implanted in your brain. And with this chip, you can communicate with the internet. It is research, but it is possible to do so. And then you can imagine the danger of being hacked by someone directly in your brain, right? So infrastructure is important. So without further ado, let's go in the body of the talk. So we said the energy distribution infrastructure. And we know that they have been attacked. You know, Ukraine has taken down the energy network. In United States, there have been a number of attacks, some known, some less known. Why is that? Because it's easy to take down the energy infrastructure. So much so that the fear of the United States is that in the next few years, very few years, the likelihood that someone is going to take down the entire energy infrastructure is very real. So much so that 3/4 of the CEOs of energy companies are sure that within 2 years, the energy infrastructure of the United States is going to be down. Now, the estimate of the damage of such an action range from $250 billion to $1 trillion. Okay? So this is real, and this is very, very dangerous. In my opinion, it's a mistake to think that infrastructure or what is the world of companies, for example, energy companies, should be left alone to fight the battle against cyber attacks. This is something that we all have to join together to stop and to prevent. Now, one of the issues that we see as being the danger in distribution network, and this is just electricity, but could be gas, could be water, is the fact that there are a lot of devices in these systems that are old and they are non-protected. The moment in which you bring in digitalization, which is like the key word that everybody is talking about for the future of the economy, you are exposing all these old devices to attacks, and they are completely defenseless. Now, by the same token, we have to consider that things like the smart grid is opening all kinds of holes in the infrastructure. Now, anytime we think about digitalization, we think about two or three things. One is artificial intelligence, and the other one is Internet of Things. And Internet of Things means that all devices that you have around you are going to be connected, mostly through the internet, and that's the reason why it's called Internet of Things. But these devices are very small and not very powerful. But they can create havoc because of the numbers of these devices. So it is estimated that by 2020, we are going to have more than 50 billion devices. By 2025, we are going to have 1,000 devices per person worldwide. So no matter if you are a young kid or an old guy, 1,000 devices. Every time you add a device to the interconnection, you are opening a door. And so think about the vulnerability that we are going to face. So in my opinion, the major obstacle to the future of digitalization is security, because of this issue of opening doors all over the place. Now, in fact, you can even use the Internet of Things to attack the infrastructure. And we have seen, for example, the attack in the United States that has been through lamps, intelligent smart lamps that have created denial of services that has taken down the major corporation in the United States. And that has started from Internet of Things, so the famous door that we're opening. And we are not realizing what are the side effects of opening these doors. Now, if we look at the number of sites that have been created in the Internet, and we have seen, because many more probably are there, but we have not seen them, what you see there is doubled from 2017 to 2018. These sites are the ones that are used to control the Internet of Things in a negative way. So they are going to take over the Internet of Things and then creating a serious damage to the infrastructure. Now, it's not only the Internet of Things, but it's the entire enterprise is very vulnerable. So the number of vulnerabilities for a single enterprise has grown up tremendously in the past few years. So we have distributed infrastructure. We have application and APIs of all kinds. We have cloud infrastructure and services. And so the attack surface is growing. But mind you, in general, the weakest link of security is us, is people, not machines, it's people. And we have seen a number of attacks that have used remote access employees to gain access to the company data and control systems. Now, so we are in a battle. It is a real serious battle. So this one is one of my favorite painters, Paolo Uccello, and so this is a very crude depiction of what a battle looks like. And I take one, I couldn't put down the name, but this is one of the companies that I founded. And we have about 10,000 attacks per day. Most of them have not gone through because we are well defended. But boy, would I like to have some information about the attacks that may come down the pike. And so why can't we also put to work secret services, military, everybody to try to stop these damaging situations? Now, this one is an example for transportation systems.
Yeah, let's turn the fan on, see if he even notices.
There are two people far away.
Turned on all the fans and
They are controlling a car
I didn't do that.
200 miles away.
The trick started small.
Oh my God. There's a picture of Charlie and Chris in tracksuits that just appeared on the dashboard. But as I drove down the interstate, things started getting unpleasant and very loud.
So at this point, the sound system has been activated remotely.
Can't turn it down.
And then now the wipers are going.
I can't see anything because of the windshield wiper fluid.
Okay, do it. Do it. Kill the engine.
So we're killing the engine right now.
It says park sense. Actually,
Okay, so the engine stops. Now, and this is very real, very possible. You can imagine what kind of terroristic attack you can have by activating a car from remotely. You can provoke accidents everywhere in a town. And you can cripple completely a town or an infrastructure such as a freeway. And in fact, if we look at the surface of attack of the car, it's like colander, right? I am Italian, so I like pasta. This is like a colander. So you have so many holes that you can penetrate into a car in any possible ways. It's the simplest thing that you can do. I bet that my son can do it easily, and he is 19. So he can do this, no problem at all. So how come it has not happened yet? Because there is no money to be made as yet. But this will happen. So there will be an attack on the transportation infrastructure. So if we think about the future of transportation, there is no doubt that some degree of autonomous driving is going to take place. Now, what is the issue with autonomous driving? Well, you're adding automation. Hence, you are adding sensor. Hence, you are adding nodes. Hence, you are opening doors, even more on what is already open. Let's look at what is the four fundamental questions of autonomous driving. So the first one is, where am I? Right? And so how do you detect where you are? Sensing technology. You have GPS, inertial navigation system, and then mapping technology. Well, you can fool a GPS system. You can give the wrong information to your car where it is. And so you can have your car going down a cliff because you are giving the wrong information to the sensor. The next question is, what is around me? And so you need vision systems like radars, lidars, and so on. And you can fool them as well. Remember, and this has not been the result of an attack, but think about the Boeing 737 MAX. That, two accidents. What was the cause of that accident? Was the interaction between sensors and control system. Now, that was caused by malfunctioning, but if I am a terrorist, I can do that as well, right? And so I can provoke huge number of damages in that domain. Now, what will happen next? So when we have an autonomous driving system, given the situation that I can see, what is likely to happen so that I can react to it? So it's predictive system. So software and algorithms in general. And the next one is, what should I do? And what should I do is a decision that you have to take. And this decision system today are basically taken with neural networks. So artificial intelligence topics. So if you look at the enabling technology of autonomous driving, is sensor fusion and big data. But we say the interaction between sensors and the computing part of the car is a weak point. You can attack it simply. What about artificial intelligence? Is that a robust technology? Well, I have my doubts. So here is an example that you can find is a paper published by Stanford, but we also have a number of examples like this, and part of our research in Berkeley, of my group, is to try to fool neural networks so that we can prevent bad things from happening. So if you train your neural network on recognizing objects, you can get pretty good results. But take the image on the right. We perturb the image, and we introduce some random noise. Now, what you see there is a pattern that doesn't look like a penguin at all, right? But yet, neural network decides with 99.99% assurance that that is a penguin, right? So I can do exactly the same thing on the decision-making of an automobile, as well as any other decision systems. So I would like to stress the fact, don't trust artificial intelligence too much. Understand what the limitations are. I hear people say, well, we use artificial intelligence to fight cybercrime. Be careful. Understand what you're getting into and what are the limitations. Now, in all of this, we have to think about the basis of all this internet and all of this capability, digital capability, which is the semiconductor chip. That's a basis. That's a common denominator. Well, you can hack chips too, and we'll see how. But Intel has decided to try to use microprocessor to defend against software attacks. So they have devised a particular algorithm, because it's called SGX, that allow programs to have an enclave, a particular zone of the memory, which is not accessible except for that one application. Well, it so happens that if you give to some researchers at the university a target, like try to prove that it doesn't work, well, they will, right? And so they demonstrated that actually it's more damaging than good, because you can put a malware into that protected area, and there is nothing you can do. Once you have it, you have it. You cannot get rid of it. But there have been 2 instances of bugs, quote unquote, which are at the architectural level. It's not software. This is architecture of the chip that creates a vulnerability. And these are called Meltdown and Spectre. And they were discovered a year ago, more or less. But they were present in the chip since 2010. So it took 9 years to detect that particular bug. Why did it take so long? Because it's not simple. It's really difficult to do. So this is an illustration of a mechanism, but essentially what happens is that to make your chip go faster, you take some decisions that are iffy. One of the bases for making your microprocessor go fast is to do what is called speculative execution. So you're trying to guess what your program is going to tell the chip to do, and you start doing it before the software tells it to do it. And that is a vulnerability. So you can attack that particular step of speculative execution to siphon off the encrypted password database. And so that is the ultimate security that we think it is. So to encrypt our passwords, well, they're not secure at all. You can get to it. So now, what is the solution of these bugs at the chip level? Well, our research tells us that we can design chips in such a way that this kind of bugs, quote unquote, can never occur. And this one is a very complex mathematical proof-based system, but it is possible. But you have to think about security at the moment in which you are designing the new systems. If you patch it later on, it's too late. You have to start thinking with security in mind. No matter what you do, software, hardware, think security since the very first line of code, since the very first line of register transfer level. So what can we do here? So this is another painting by Paolo Uccello. It's St. George slaying the dragon. So, well, one thing is that hardware is such a fundamental basis for security that you can look at anomalies that are occurring at the hardware level by placing a watchdog. It's typical what you do, for example, in the case of a system that may misbehave because they are broken, right? So it's reliability. You check reliability by observing what happens on the chip itself. Same thing. So we are proposing to do the same at the level of the chip, to analyze if the chip is behaving like you think it should behave. By the same token, the companies, for example, in energy, like Enel is the largest company in energy in Europe, I believe, And what they decided to do is to team up with a startup. And this startup has designed hardware which is connected to their SCADA system, and they can watch what is going on at the network level and detect anomalies. It's the same solution as we've seen on the chip, and this time at the network level. This one is another solution which is fund startups, right? So the private sector and the new innovative companies always being very good in solving complex problems. So these are 28 startups that have been funded in the last 3-4 months, so in 2019. And each one of these companies is attacking a particular domain of cybersecurity. Now, some are very promising. So, for example, homomorphic encryption has been a dream of cryptography since the time that cryptography was born, which means that you don't need to decrypt data to edit the data or to do something with the data itself. You can operate on the data in encrypted form. So you are removing a big potential liability of your systems. Now, the other way is what I was asking before to the panel, is say, can't we get together? Can't we have a private-public partnership? Now, in energy, which is a sector I know very well, the investment of companies in security is dismal. It's very small compared to the risk. Why? Because they don't have enough money to invest in security. But the energy infrastructure is vital for a country. So that is a very clear place where a private-public partnership should take place. There are some attempts in the United States, but I think that the issue of resiliency of our infrastructure is a key one, not only in the United States, worldwide. And in fact, I think this one is a study that we did in the United States, the National Academy of Engineering. And I trust that this should be also something that the NATO should encourage in Europe. So take a look at the infrastructure. See what the infrastructure in Europe is capable of doing or not capable of doing. This is my slide, and this is, in my opinion, possibly the strongest, weakest worldwide that we have is the lack of people. So by a estimate by ISC Square, the number of people that were missing in cybersecurity is something like almost 3 million people. Like when we talk about the future of jobs, when we talk about people who should be literate in digital technology, security is one such key thing. So if we want to solve part of the problem, we should invest more in education of people that are very well versed in security. Thank you very much.